mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Well, welcome home, family. It's your mom and dad. Welcome home. Family, so I know we're kind of starting this off on a weird note. But, you know, we so appreciate you as the family coming every week.
Yeah.
Your dad and I, you know, we try to be honest when we're going through something.
Yeah.
And so we thought we'd be forthcoming today and talk about something that we've kind of been battling through in our relationship. You know, we shared with you all a week ago that we just had our 13th year wedding anniversary. So, you know, we've been together for a long time, together closer to 20 years. Yeah. And something's kind of come to a head that I just can't handle anymore.
Well, let me cut you off there.
Yeah, do you want to, I feel like maybe you want to take it away.
It's been 20 years. And, you know, my friends have a lot of opinions about our relationship.
Yeah.
My family has a lot of a lot of opinions about our relationship. And most importantly, my big sissy poo, my sister, has a lot of opinions. And I think, I'm not saying 100%, but I might be willing to introduce you to her at this point. I told myself I didn't want to waste her time by her just because this is, listen, well, let me speak, okay? Because this is another part of our problems is like I need to speak about all my opinions.
Okay.
And yours aren't very important.
Okay, sure. Okay, please go ahead.
That one thing is that she doesn't meet just anyone, okay? Because I'm pretty sure she's like the queen of a country or something, and so she's very busy.
Okay.
And her opinion matters more to me than anything in this whole world, including you.
Okay.
Her opinion matters more. And so I always told myself after 25 years, I would introduce you to her, but it's been 20. And I think that we can get to a place where she will hate you, but I'm willing for you to see her face. Maybe not speak to her, but just to see her face.
Maybe I can like kiss her hand or something.
Maybe you can close your eyes, enter the room, and then she will let me know if you're allowed to breathe. And so
I think the thing that's been
and
hard
also you hooked up with a guy 22 years ago now, and he's saying that like you guys talked within 6 years of us hooking up.
But you and I, we've talked about this, like you and I weren't together, and like it was just like a guy that I would just like kind of hook up with every once in a while. Like we weren't even in a relationship.
Yeah, but the reality is that I am allowed to do whatever I want.
Okay.
And before we meet, you're not allowed to.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You should have been saving yourself for me before you knew I existed.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I guess then the other thing that's hard for me is, you know, again, we've been together for a while now, and you're just saying that you keep saying that you don't want to waste your sister's time. And I know your sister's like really important to you, but I feel like at this point, you know, and I felt this way while we were engaged too. Yes. You know, I was like, well, we're engaged. Shouldn't I meet your sister? And you were like, well, I don't want to waste her time.
And you might have thought when Ember was born, that was a time also.
Yeah.
But I still am not sure. And I'm going to go hang out with my friends and party tonight instead of talk about you.
Okay.
And I also don't really want to meet your parents either.
Okay.
So just as a heads up. Tee, guys, we're totally kidding you, by the way. That was a total bit and scene, guys. I know that you were along for that ride. I know for a fact that you did not know that was acting.
Tee.
Tee. That was a scene. And scene. Ember, take notes.
You did a very good job. I feel like I was smirking the whole time. I don't feel like I really
it's
kept it together.
I know how to be in character all the way.
Family, we are obviously doing a scene. We are representing Dave and Lauren. Evan was playing Dave. I was playing Lauren in this scene because I could not believe what I was seeing in these episodes of Love is Blind. Okay, we're covering episodes 7, 8, 9, and 10 today of the most recent season. And in general, my jaw was on the floor during many parts of these episodes because I continue to say, like, from our first recap of episodes 1 through 6.
Yeah.
I can't stand these men.
Yes.
That has
They're
continued.
fantastic. I don't know what you're talking about.
Has continued. There's a few now, shout out Daniel.
Sure.
That we're really crossing our fingers for here because he seems lovely. Shout out Daniel.
We went from, is this guy low-key a stalker and a liar, to the best guy on the show. So,
Yes.
as it stands right now.
As it stands. So that's what we're feeling right now. But there were so many moments with specifically Dave and Lauren, many of the other couples as well.
Yes.
But specifically Dave and Lauren, that I could not keep myself together. Evan and I were watching these episodes separately, and I kept having to pause, and I'd run into the studio where Evan was watching it, and I'd be like, I need to talk to you about what Dave just said. And Evan would be like, please stop. We have to recap.
Yeah.
So I just I'm very invigorated again to have discussions about all of them, but specifically, we got to talk about Dave.
Yeah, there's a lot to say about Mr. Dave.
There's a lot to say about
Yes.
Dave. I have many quotes that I would like to cover with the techniques of Dave. You should start a course, really, a very toxic course. The toxic course of
The toxic
Dave.
masterclass?
Yeah, toxic masterclass featuring Dave from Love is Blind. Okay, but family, like I said, we're covering episodes 7, 8, 9, and 10 of Love is Blind. And just a reminder, as we cover this, we are watching this for the very first time. We have not seen any spoilers, so if we say anything that is, mean about somebody, then it ends up being wrong. Apologies in advance. We don't know, or vice versa. If we love somebody and we end up finding out that they're a terrible person, again, apologies in advance. But I do have to say, I got an email after our last episode from someone, and in this email they said, "Hey, Mom and Dad, I just want to say I feel a little bummed out that you are telling us that you don't have any spoilers, but clearly you do. Can we just be honest?"
That's called being talented. My bad.
In the podcast. So I want to make something clear. Thank you
Yeah.
for nailing things. But listen, family, we do not know anything.
Nothing.
Okay? So I felt pretty good about that email,
Yes.
being like, I feel like we're nailing some things.
We're nailing things.
And what it did kind of is now mess with me a little bit, because last episode I was saying to you, there's something about, I keep thinking after I got that email, there's something about Joey. And I was like, is Joey the one? Because I threw that out there and it's like, he seems like such a nice guy.
I know.
Because I don't trust any of these guys. So now I'm really fixated on Joey, because in episodes 7, 8, 9, and 10, I was like, Joey, I was kind of pulling back what I was saying in the first 6 episodes. I was like, Joey seems pretty great.
They were amazing episodes for him.
So I'm like, now though, after getting that email, I'm like, are we going to have a twist with Joey?
Well, first of all, don't answer any more emails, because someone might give you a hint on something. So
I didn't respond to the email. I'm sorry, because I don't want any.
don't even look at the, because there's a lot of spoilers out there. So we've been very diligent about not exposing the spoilers.
Been extremely diligent. Yes. Also, it's helped because I've been off the internet a lot in the past 6 months due to my romantasy reading. So I just don't encounter them quite as much. But anyway, so yes, family, we do not know anything. So again, apologies in advance, but also please, thank you if we're nailing this.
As normal.
Kind of validated in my opinions, but I also feel like these men served it pretty obviously in the first 6 episodes, so I don't feel like a genius. But
I think our semi-genius was more not in the way of like, wait, Dave's lame. It's more like the guys who seem nice might be smelling like something's underneath the surface.
That's why the Joey thing is sticking in me, because like I said, in these last couple episodes, and we'll talk about Joey and Monica, I was vibing again with Joey. I was like, maybe I was being too suspicious.
You're right.
I don't know. We'll talk about it. But also, family, before we officially dive into this recap, wanted to let you all know next week, we actually will not have any episodes.
Correct.
We are taking the week off. We'd planned this in advance, but our daughter has spring break next week. But actually, she's going to be busy doing something kind of exciting. We'll keep you updated when we can share about it.
Yes.
But we will be busy. So next week, there will be no episode. But then the following week after next week, we'll be back to our regular schedule once again. But wanted to let you know, we will miss you all next week. But we'll keep you updated with some fun stuff that our kiddo is up to.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Okay. Let's get into this and do it couple by couple like we did last time.
Yeah.
But first, we got to take a quick pause. So family, we're discussing the Love is Blind couples, vacationing, and then returning home today, which typically includes conversations about finances. And I fear if Evan and I were on the show, when we'd return, he'd see the vast amount of streaming services that I pay for monthly, even though I really only use 2, or the 7 fantasy quiz apps I subscribe to and pay for monthly on my phone that I've only used once. Well, I should say that he would have seen that, but that's no issue anymore because I use Rocket Money, my savior, Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I cannot tell you how much money I was spending monthly on subscriptions that I had forgotten about before I started using Rocket Money. It was honestly embarrassing. Okay. Rocket Money has saved us a lot of money over the past couple years.
Yeah, they really have. They make it so easy and organized too, because with Rocket Money, you see all your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. And for the ones you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them too. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save. Then you can ask them to negotiate for you, aka they'll deal with customer service. You don't have to, which we all know is a true gift and a time saver.
Also, Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all of your accounts. It is thorough, and oh my gosh, the new goals feature automatically saves money for you so you don't have to think about it, which has been huge for me. It's been huge. Like, you can pay off credit card debt, put money away for a car, or just build your savings. Rocket Money makes it easy. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. We are some of those people. They've saved us so much money, and in like the current day and age, we want to be saving that money, okay? So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/momdad today. That's rocketmoney.com/momdad, rocketmoney.com/momdad. Okay, let's get into this. I want to talk about these couples. So like I said, let's go couple by couple. We're going to be covering them in Honduras and then when they get home. Okay, the first few episodes when they get home. And if it's okay with you, I would like to start with Dave and Lauren.
We have to.
I would like to start with
and something
Dave and Lauren.
I want to say about this, which is super interesting because we see it in the pods too.
Yeah.
Which is Lauren's the perfect example in this case of like in Honduras, the dynamic was different than when they got home. And it's almost that scarcity thing.
I know.
It's when you
because she didn't seem attracted to him.
It was the opposite.
In Honduras.
In Honduras, she just kept being like, oh, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And he kind of seemed a little bit more, I don't want to say desperate, but more kind of nervous, more like, am I losing her? Is she into me? You know what I mean? We'll get into that. We haven't hooked up thing.
Well, he was concerned about his sex poll.
Right. But also just legitimately.
Yeah.
I even just for a moment was like, okay, did Dave posture a lot more in the pods? He's a little quieter out here. And then I just kind of am realizing it's this like scarcity thing that happens to people when they feel like someone's not into them or they're losing them. They all of a sudden kind of go in, they turtle, they kind of change their personality and get a little more desperate. And that's exactly what we saw with Dave and Lauren. It's like in Honduras, she then was visibly maybe not attracted to him. She maybe had built up someone in her mind. And then when they get home, he then is playing all these cards about like, I don't know my family. I don't know if you're the one. And then she then is all of a sudden like, you're my person. It's really interesting to watch the flip.
Well, Dave does a despicable technique because what Dave does, I genuinely agree. I feel like Lauren actually is not physically attracted to him. I really don't think she is, especially in Honduras. It was like screaming off of her like, who's the stranger? It's not Dave. Like, I just don't feel like she was vibing him that much. And I think she knows in her heart and soul, like, this is not the right guy.
Right.
But what Dave does in this despicable technique is he throws out these comments that if you actually like pinned him, he could maybe say, well, I was just kidding. But he's doing it on purpose.
It's the like subtle nagging.
He says stuff like, at one point they're in bed and he's like, wow, your face is so shiny. And men do this, man, where you're like...
Not your skin looks good.
No.
But it's like shiny.
Men can do this, and it's a way to like try to flip the tables and be like, I'm the one who's in the power position right now. Like, I'm the confident one, to try to make someone feel less confident by these comments. Like when a woman comes out and is wearing something, instead of saying like, oh, that's a pretty dress, it's like, oh, so you're kind of going for like a Little House on the Prairie vibe. And you're like, then you're in your head and you're like, well, I like
instead
this
of just
outfit.
saying it was a nice
instead
outfit.
of just saying that I look pretty, or you like my dress, or not saying anything if you don't love it, you look at me and go, nice Little House on the Prairie vibe.
Or you're really brave with your fashion.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that kind of thing where you're just like
that. So when he makes a comment where he goes, your face is super shiny. And then at one point when they're on a boat later together, he's like, it's crazy. Like, I still haven't found anything about you that I hate, except maybe this new hair.
Right. So rude.
And then he goes, just kidding.
Right. I was like,
And
obviously, you're not kidding.
And you watch her touch her hair.
Yeah,
it
she's
like,
kind of like,
it
am
like
I in
broke
my
my
head?
heart. It's like, you're touching her hair, and now she's going to be in her head for the entire boat ride.
Yeah.
By the way, notice that after he said that, we never saw her in braids.
Exactly.
For the rest of like the few episodes, because then he got in her head, even though she looked absolutely adorable, her hair looked beautiful. Oh, so he does that.
Yes.
He throws that out, and he also does that too when they're starting to talk about something that's making him feel a little insecure, like perhaps this other guy that she was seeing before. He'll randomly throw out like, so how do you feel about the fact that, like, I'll meet Molly soon? Right. And he's trying to make her insecure.
He even did it in the ITMs. He's like, yeah, we haven't had sex yet, but I've seen her naked. But he didn't say, and wow, I like it. He didn't say, it's driving me crazy.
So not
it was
cool
just like,
to be like,
I've seen it.
Just FYI, ITM's like, I've seen her naked.
But it's like nothing to write home about. Was kind of like what the way he was saying it. So very interesting. And
there was
not interesting in a good way. Just like what was interesting though was the amount she was rattled.
You mean
just in Honduras, like
just not
in
being
regards to
interested.
not being into him, and she even says to him when they were on a date, "It takes me a long time to get attracted to someone physically."
Yeah, she's like
and
letting him know.
I think that's her saying out loud, I don't know why I can't find you super attractive right now, but there's something off. That was kind of what she's saying.
And I want to say this now, and it's something that we're going to then talk about later. But I think because of Dave's, I think there's a few factors, but I think one of the biggest factors is Dave's ego about this other guy that she was seeing, is because he hears that she kind of had a friends with benefits situation. And
if you're so down for sex, like, why can't we hook up kind of energy?
That's his perspective, which is like such a toxic.
It's one thing if you're like, Mrs. I never have sex with anybody and it's been 7 years, but it's like, wait, we haven't hooked up and you're like hooking up with this guy a week ago?
I think it's this like toxic kind of misogynist energy of like, well, if you're down to have friends with benefit sex, like, why haven't you hooked up with me yet? Right. And I think that is why it is just he can't
losing his mind.
He's losing his mind.
I
It's an ego
prefer to
thing.
think this guy's like taller and better looking and like more successful. You know what I mean?
I love
Like,
to imagine that in my
because
mind.
how else would he be this rattled? You know what I mean? Like, he's so rattled.
Yeah, that guy's like the hot shot of the
he's
apartment
the guy that
complex.
hooks up with everybody. He's banged the entire apartment complex, and he wishes, and that guy he wishes he was him. And so the fact that like he got to Lauren.
Well, even Dave was like, yeah, I've seen that guy around the pool before.
Exactly.
So it's like, you notice him around the pool. He's probably
he's
a little
shredded
bit of a hottie.
and you're tweaked. Yeah, 100%.
Now these two, speaking of Honduras and the energy.
Yeah.
I think 90% of our conversation that we got to view with Dave and Lauren was about their sleeping habits. I was keeping a tally of it, and I think we saw it 5 or 6 times over the small amount of time that we saw them in Honduras. They were sitting having breakfast. They were on the boat. They were with the people from the pods, and they kept talking about the fact that she pees a lot during the middle of the night and how much she moves and how crazy it is. Okay. It was the same as talking about the weather, but it was just talking about bed. Like, they had so little to talk about that every time, that feeling when you can't talk to somebody and it's just like the one thing that we have in common is that we slept in the bed together, and that's like we can just keep going back to that. It was so awkward, Evan. We just kept going back to like, isn't it crazy how much she pees and like how she moves around?
It's like when you're at one of your kids' like birthday parties or like your kids' friends' birthday parties, and you're talking to another parent there, but you don't really have any common and you don't really know what to talk about, and you just say a lot of stuff like, gosh, it's been nice lately. So nice out. And apparently it's supposed to rain soon. Yeah, crazy. And then you kind of go over to like, did you guys go to a lot of birthday parties?
With the parents, you just always are like, it's crazy how fast they're growing up,
really,
right?
Man,
and you just say the same thing over. It's crazy how fast they're growing up, right? Wow, it's so crazy.
And that happened a lot with them. It happens to a lot of people in this show. It's like once they're in person, they really kind of like freeze up. But it really happened to Lauren and Dave. And I think one big reason was because Lauren was struggling with her like putting the face to the name and the attraction thing. But I also think it's like when your whole relationship, because when you actually think about it, yeah, they did talk a lot about a lot of things, but a lot of their time in the pods was Lauren kind of trying to win Dave over from Molly, him talking to Molly and deciding who to go with between. Yeah. Like I do feel like
that's what we saw. They might have,
but I'm saying their relationship for like the last chunk devolved into this kind of who's going to win thing. Yeah. And I think when you spend a lot of time doing that, once you kind of quote win, you're kind of like, what do you want to talk about? And I do really feel like Dave's bit ran out too, right? There's kind of this like, my whole thing is to be this elusive bachelor.
Yeah.
And then once we're kind of together, I don't really have any more moves because I can't, it's not about just getting you anymore. I've already got you. So
yeah, Playboy doesn't know how to play
exactly.
anymore.
So his personality kind of devolves. And what happens is just 90% of the conversation becomes crazy, right? How crazy is this experience? And it's like, yeah, we've talked like days of just saying, whoa, crazy. And like, yeah, just crazy to put like the face to the voice. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's so crazy. Yeah, just nuts. And they just keep saying that over and over again.
Now, there is a chance, this is just playing devil's advocate, there is a chance that Lauren was physically attracted to Dave and into Dave, because I did talk to you about this a little bit. For some reason, it really hit me during this series of episodes about the idea of going from the pods to Honduras and like then being alone with somebody. I told Evan, personally for me, and everybody's different, but personally for me, like, you know, if I was single, if I go out and go on a date with somebody, like I feel, depending on the person, who the person is, and if I feel safe with them, like I'm comfortable going and having sex the first night. Okay. I feel comfortable with that. This situation, I would not. Even though I have spent hours and hours getting to know someone deeply in the pods and then we're engaged, I would feel so much pressure and expectation of, number one, how I'm supposed to react around this person and feel comfort. And number two, the expectation of, okay, I guess now we're engaged. So, you know, this comes at some point. Yeah. I would feel so much pressure that I was telling Evan, I would have to be so beyond wildly physically attracted to them. And I don't even mean like, oh, I think they're handsome. Like the most handsome guy could walk out and I'd feel the same way. I would have to have like a crazy pheromone energy with this person to then be able to hook up with them within like that week of being in Honduras. Like I just wouldn't. So there's a chance that, you know, maybe Lauren is wired more like me.
Sure.
And it's like, yeah, I'm comfortable with this, but in this situation, I just feel like the cameras, the lights.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to feel a certain way about this person, and now I feel like we just went five steps back because I'm still trying to get to know this person on a visual level. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
that.
I agree with you. I think the show should not be called Love is Blind.
Yeah.
I think it should be called Can You Overcome the Pressure of Meeting Someone After You Fall in Love with Their Personality? Because physically,
I like it. The title's not as snappy as Love is Blind.
It's not quite as snappy, but I do think it's more true. But there's something about, like, to your point, it's the pressure.
It's the pressure.
It's the pressure of, wait, well, now we've said I love you, but I also have never seen you, and I don't know what it's like to be with you in person. And let's say even attraction aside, physical presence, being near someone and the energy shift is like huge. And I think
pheromones are huge. Smell is huge.
Because and you notice the pressure so intense because everyone just keeps saying the same thing. It's crazy. We're getting married in a couple weeks, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Everyone keeps saying, isn't it crazy? I chose you. I love you, right? It's almost like they're trying to convince themselves, I love you, right? And I'm into you, right? And this is translating into the real world, right? And that's why then
you have like these few that actually really stand out, like a Daniel and Taylor.
Right.
Where you're like, oh, throughout these episodes at least, there didn't feel like a pressure. There felt like a peace of like, oh, I want to be with you and you're my person.
You also need one person to be all in to survive because there's generally one versus the other. Like in this case, the Daniel situation, Daniel was like crying and was so in, and Taylor multiple times, if you would have even like blinked, she could have left.
Yeah.
And so
but he was fully, he was
fully,
in.
So you need someone who's just like all in to push the other person through the awkwardness. Because if you have a little bit of hesitancy on either, I feel like it's over.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into all these kind of like hot top. Obviously there's so much to cover. Let's kind of like hit the main points of each of these.
I just want to talk about let's talk about the sex situation for a minute here.
Yes.
So right out the gate in Honduras, Lauren is like, hey, just FYI, I just got a bikini wax, so I can't have sex for 24 hours. And Dave is just
like,
immediately deflated.
It's like, I've never heard of this. You're lying.
Immediately deflated. And from there, we get the ITMs of him. Again, it's been maybe 48 hours, Evan.
Yeah.
When he does this ITM, maybe. Where he's like, yeah, we haven't had sex yet.
Yes.
And I'm like, I mean, yeah. I don't think that that's a wild concept. But he was tripping so hard that when the group came together and everyone was seeing each other for the first time, which honestly, nothing really happened.
No.
It
worked out.
The main concept was Dave.
There was no, and because usually with these, there's like someone goes, he's hot.
Yeah.
Or that's normally my type. A little bit of that happened with Joey and
I was going to say, the only thing
Sara?
I noticed was Sara.
Yeah, being like,
Sarah,
wow, his long, luscious locks. I was not expecting that.
She was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
A little hot for him, but subtle.
But I was surprised.
Yeah, there was a little something there.
But that was the only moment.
Usually it's something a lot more aggressive than that.
But we didn't see Sara then talking to Joey or flirting with Joey.
It's because none of the other lovers survived. Right? Usually in the show, someone will have been super torn between two and then the other person chose them and then they meet. But none of the love triangles survive to be in this situation. So,
which means it'll be interesting when then the full group gets together, I think in the next episode.
Right.
Yeah.
That will shift.
But the main concept was Dave. Yes. Because Dave was going on a full scientific tour about whether any of the couples have had sex yet. And when we say he asked everyone, that's not an exaggeration. And by the way, he didn't just ask the men. It's not like, hey guys, we've gotten to know each other on the male side of the pods, so I have a rapport with you. Have you guys hooked up?
Yes.
No, he's talking to the women, which kind of blew my mind. It felt more disrespectful to me to be like,
multiple of the women were like, whoa, okay,
it
I
felt
guess
more
we're doing
disrespectful to me because it's like, first of all, you don't have a relationship with these people. Also, Lauren has a close relationship with them. And now without her here, you are addressing these women and being like, have you guys had sex yet?
And you're almost trying to go, is there something wrong? Like it's like he's basically saying, is there something wrong with Lauren?
Yeah.
Because you guys probably had sex, right? So like, what's wrong with her?
You guys had sex. Right,
so you're basically putting them on a pedestal over your girl.
And, sorry, I know I'm digging, but the way that Dave looks at women,
he looks at all of them like they're options for him.
He does this thing. And I'll say I love it when I'm watching a romantic movie.
Sure.
And the lead does this to the other lead.
Sure.
But like, it's this thing that when the person is looking away, you watch them, the other person like looking over their face, like really
analyzing
scanning,
them, taking them in.
Yes. Or even when Dave is then talking to another woman, he'll look at their eyes, their nose, their mouth. It's different than just addressing someone. There was one moment when he was talking to Taylor and Taylor turned for a second and he was like,
he was staring at her,
going over every curve of her face. He was like scanning everything. And maybe he would say it's because he's in aesthetics.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's doing research.
His answer would be that he's in aesthetics. He's like, well, what I'm doing is I'm analyzing how we could make this better.
Yeah.
But I noted that and I was like, that to me is something that if I was his partner and I was rewatching that, it would really hit me.
Yeah.
It would hit me in a weird way.
He's doing this on camera?
Because I get that you're looking at people and I get sometimes people check people out, especially the first, whatever, I understand. But there's a difference between like a quick checkout and like the perusal of someone's face in like a pursuit way.
Yes.
It's a different energy.
It's who's an option? That's what he's doing.
And so he was perusing their faces, probably more. And then he basically had a clipboard going around being like, who's had sex, who hasn't had sex, who's had sex, who hasn't had sex. It seems like, by the way, most everyone has not. We got a hint from Monica that her and Joey
that they've done stuff,
have or perhaps have hooked up in some way.
Sam says yes, it happened quickly.
Sam. You mean Ben?
Sam. There is no Sam. Ben said they hooked up quickly.
So when the guys are sitting together,
Yeah.
Ben immediately goes, well, it happened fast for us.
Right.
I'd like to note that again. We'll go back to that.
Yeah.
I want to put a caveat there because Ben is an energy that seems like Mr. Golden Retriever.
Mr.
And, like,
Christian,
I'm
Mr.
Christian,
got
like,
church every
we're
Sunday.
like, everything's where I'm just this gentleman. Da, 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 da. And it's interesting to me that he was the one who's like, yeah, fellas, happened
Right away.
real quick for us. And I'm like, that's an interesting, because
Yep.
he's been drinking a little bit. He's around the guys. I wanted to make that note about Ben.
Interesting.
But, yeah, Dave's doing the full scan of everybody. And it kind of wraps in a moment where we see Lauren talking to Virginia.
Yes.
And she's like, so you feel comfortable with your guy?
Right.
And Virginia's like, I have never felt like more comfortable right away with someone. Isn't it
Yeah.
crazy, Lauren, how you feel so comfortable so fast? And Lauren's like, yeah,
There's
it's
nothing
crazy.
worse than that, too. It's like, how's business? It's like incredible, and your business is like in the trash, and you're like, great.
Yeah, when you say like, yeah, it's been tough out there, huh? And the other
Yeah.
person's like, no, man, we've been crushing.
Best
and
year
you're
of
like,
my life. You're like, okay, thanks for
say
that.
same.
Appreciate it.
Same. Okay, but once they get back from Honduras, some stuff goes down. And a
Yes.
little bit before when they're on the boat, let's talk about that full drama circle with this other guy. But first, we got to take another quick pause. Family, well, here's the deal. A lot of the couples are talking about wanting to get married and have kids. We shall see who actually makes it to the altar. But I'd specifically like to chat about the kid piece for a second and hair. For many new moms, hair thinning is an unexpected and frustrating part of motherhood. That was me. Hi, it happened to me and it shocked me, to be honest. Luckily, there's something you can do about it. Nutrafol's postpartum supplement was OBGYN formulated to target root causes of postpartum hair thinning like sleepless nights, hormonal changes, nutrient gaps, and stress while using breastfeeding-friendly ingredients. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. That's why this Mother's Day, Nutrafol makes the perfect gift. There's something for every mom on your list. The postpartum formula is great for women in the first year after giving birth. The Women's Balance formula is perfect for women 45 and up experiencing perimenopause or menopause. And of course, the women's formulas are great for those who are in between life stages. And anything truly worthwhile takes time and effort, and with Nutrafol, see thicker, stronger, faster growing hair and less shedding in just 3 to 6 months. I truly wish that I would have known about Nutrafol during my postpartum journey. I really wish I would have, but I'm so glad that I've discovered them since. You all know about my hair struggles over the years, and well, because I heard rave reviews about Nutrafol, I started taking Nutrafol, the women's formula specifically, a little over a year ago. And the results have blown my mind. My hair has grown more than it ever has. It has way less shedding. My hair is thicker and shinier and healthier. Genuinely, the first thing that people see when they see me, if they haven't seen me in a few months, they're like, oh my gosh, your hair is so much longer and thicker. And it has become this way, and I am so grateful. Also, I have someone close in my life who is having hair thinning due to menopause, and she started taking Nutrafol about 8 months ago. I just saw her this weekend, and she is so happy with her results. I am so, so grateful for Nutrafol, truly. This Mother's Day, consider Nutrafol, the best-selling hair growth supplement. Whether you're gifting it to yourself or a loved one, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off any order. Enjoy free shipping when you subscribe. Go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code MOMDADGIFT. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code MOMDADGIFT. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code MOMDADGIFT. Okay, so back to Lauren and Dave.
Yeah.
So we do find out in Honduras, we get a little snippet of the fact that Dave knows that Lauren had been, casually seeing somebody, not a relationship, but like kind of hooking up with somebody.
He said, I know both your exes.
Yeah, Yes, and she's like,
And she was trying to say, hey,
she's
no,
like,
it's not exes.
They're not
it's
my
just-
exes. It's just like these two guys that we happen to have mutual friends in common with. And specifically one of them, you know, I had been casually kind of seeing him, casually
Yes.
hooking up with him before I went on the show, but I knew nothing was going to happen with
Right.
this. He wasn't my guy. We had that was very clear. And so what I'd like to note about that is that Lauren was, while they were in Mexico, or maybe even in the pods, I don't know, being so very forthcoming with him. Very honest with him.
Big time.
Not something that he was pushing, something that she told him. So it's not like Dave got even back home
Yeah.
and his friends were like, well, there's this guy.
Right.
She told him this beforehand. Okay. So he knows all of this going in. We also have some moments right when they're about to leave Honduras where, you know, we get a little window into more of who Dave is, where she's like, we're going to finally exchange phone numbers. And he's like, yeah, hopefully I don't have your number.
Right.
Like, this is the type of guy who's going to the bars, drunken nights, gets a number, maybe does a hookup exchange, the numbers, whatever, maybe ghosts the person, doesn't remember who the person is. Like, that's the way that Dave operates.
Yeah,
that Dave is like, he kept saying, hopefully I don't have your number.
It's really interesting too. It's like it's same goes with Jimmy. Is that his name? Jimmy? I always mess it up. Jimmy
talking
from
about
the other
from-
season.
yeah.
I related these two before, but because they both do the same thing, which is like the friend group is paramount. The opinions of the friend group.
Paramount.
The partying. The dating, it's interesting. It's kind of like they always, well, yeah, I've been able to find the person, but it's like, it's just so interesting that like, I know what's going on in the scene and that, you know what I mean? And I'll get more into it later, but even later when he like leaves in the middle of their fight, Jimmy did the same thing. I remember he partied that night they were fighting. There's something about these guys, the untrustworthy like party boys. That's like, they're basically saying like, I'm looking for someone who can just fit perfectly into my lifestyle already. And I have to make no adjustments.
Yeah, I can come home to you after I'm done partying with my friends and you'll be home faithful waiting for me.
And the fact that I'm going to party and you might know someone in my circles of issue. It's really interesting how those are the big issues.
Those are the big issues.
Yeah.
Those are the big issues. So then we get back home. He informs us as soon as they get into the apartment that just in case you all were wondering, he said that it's okay. Plants are for boys and girls. They're gender neutral, so no worries.
Just how girls, remember they were in the bed and she goes, I'm getting hot. I'm hot. And he goes, that's like classic women. They're always hot in bed. And he goes, wait a second. No, that's boys. Very elementary. I don't want to say anything more specific than he's very elementary in the way that he thinks about life. Just wait, no, boys are hot. Yeah. Girls aren't.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane.
So we find out that right when they get back from Honduras, that he doesn't have the opportunity to like basically tell his family and friends that he's engaged.
Yeah.
News has already spread in Minneapolis, which is interesting. We kind of heard this from numerous of the couples. It sounds like even though it's not a small town, it has a small town energy where everyone's already talking in the scene about that they already know that such and such is engaged, such and such is engaged. So he goes in to coming back home, that his friends and his family already know that he's engaged, and they also know that the woman he's engaged to is someone who apparently has hooked up with someone who's a mutual.
Yes.
And this is like,
I mean, it's the biggest deal on it's the biggest deal on planet Earth. But it has, I think it's interesting. He phrases it though in that the issue is that she wasn't celibate and lonely before joining the show.
Oh yeah, because he mentions that in Honduras
That's
too.
kind of the thing. The whole thing for him is like, I came on this show because I was out of options. I was desperate. That's kind of the way he's painting it. I haven't had a girlfriend in 4 years. I reached my wit's end, and that's why I joined the show. Because that's what people do is they join reality TV when they have no other options. Even though he's saying I've hooked up with everybody and I can get women all day long, I have no options left. I have nothing, and I'm going to find someone on this show.
You go on reality TV when you have no options. It has nothing to do with wanting to become famous or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that.
That's why all these
all.
super hot people go on like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
Yeah,
it's because they can't get a date. But his big thing, though,
he also, by the way, mentions that one of his issues with Molly was that Molly had been seeing somebody 6 months prior, and he says that's so soon.
Right.
And I go, 6 months before the show?
So it's very
soon?
Is it giving damaged goods? Like,
you mean how we were talking about how he feels
is
like,
that kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be the one who can kind of claim that I'm out and about. But
and like, it's like if my woman has been with another man, because because he was making comments throughout then these few episodes to Lauren where he's like, I just don't want to be with you tonight and get in bed with you knowing that you were with another man before. And it's like, what are we talking about right now?
And it feels, and because this is so linked to the friends, to be honest with you, what it feels like is that like, it's like, shaming. Like all my friends are going to be like, oh, you're with this girl. She's, been through a lot of guys' energy. And so he's embarrassed that his friends who are clearly douchebags are like saying like, oh, you're with this girl. This girl is not. I mean, let me tell you about this girl. Every guy knows this girl energy.
It's giving, you're 100% right. It's giving Dave and his friends are the type of guys who are like, you guys are out every night partying and hooking up with everybody. But if the woman that you're interested in has even like, been with another man, it's like, wow, well, she's like really around town and like, we don't want anything like that.
Like, oh, I'm banger, but like not girlfriend material energy. And so the fact that she had like a friends with benefits thing, like I think for him, it's like this classic Instagram alpha male, my woman doesn't ever hook up with anyone energy.
Which is the biggest yuck I can think of.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's the biggest
totally
yuck
understandable. Insane.
Can think of.
But yeah, that seems to be the energy for me.
You're
'Cause it shifts from kind of like I thought we were kind of, in a desperate place to kind of more like my friends are talking and it's embarrassing for me.
Well, and so he's saying my friends keep talking about this. Yeah. My sister, God forbid, my sister now knows that you were seeing somebody that I know, and now she's even less okay with you. And, God forbid the sister be more upset about the situation.
Super interesting too, because later on in the show, at the end of the 10th episode, he goes, my sister's telling me like, why didn't you tell me that you were like struggling? I could have found someone for you.
Oof.
So sister is like not only the queen of the world, but also like his love connection person, matchmaker mixed with
like I would have introduced him to my friends.
Mixed with best friend, mixed with like basically his parental figure. It's just really
also just
interesting.
like so disrespectful as like, I don't care if you're related, friend, whatever. As a woman, knowing that he's engaged to another woman, to then say, well, I could have introduced you to somebody.
Didn't have to go with this trash.
My gosh. Yeah. Like so disrespectful. So throughout this whole thing then, basically what we end up finding out is that him and Lauren keep having these conversations.
It will not go away, too.
It will not
Every
go
conversation
away.
boils back down to this.
And he basically says, my friends say that this guy is saying that you all were a thing and that when you left, you guys were together. And now he's like hitting you up to say like, hey, let's get together again. Basically, Lauren, you're lying and it was way more serious and you left him when you guys were together. And Lauren's looking at him saying, this is so not the case. It's literally some guy who I would hook up with occasionally, go on a date with. In fact, she even mentioned, she said, the last time I saw him, we went and got ice cream together and we talked about the Hinge date that he had just gone on, okay? And before we had the conversation with Lauren's friends, I paused the show and I ran into Evan and I said, let me tell you about this guy that Lauren's has hooked up with, okay? I can read this guy top to bottom, have no idea who he is, have never seen him, but I know for a fact what type of guy this is. Because sorry, Lauren, I really don't mean to shade you, but considering that you chose Dave, I feel like the picker's a little off.
Big time.
Okay? So I can purely picture this man, and I can almost guarantee that this guy is the type of guy that you met through mutuals. He kind of strung you along. You guys started to hook up, and he wouldn't commit. And so then you thought, you know what? Yeah, we're just here. It's a friends with benefits. I'm attracted to him. We'll hook up occasionally. But he was the one being like, nah, I'm dating other people. And so then you put the boundary up of like, yeah, we're just friends with benefits, whatever. And then this guy, because he's got a fucking ego on him, as soon as he finds out that you're actually dropping him to go on a show and then double finds out that you actually got engaged, he's now running around town being like, she's being such a floozy. We were together.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the type of guy this is. And the only reason he's tweaked about it is because it's his ego.
Big time.
He's probably the worst and a player.
I liked having her in my stable and now she's no longer in there.
Exactly. Yeah. And when we talk to Lauren's friends, that this guy, they're like, this is the type of guy who wants to be famous.
Big time.
I loved. So we end up seeing Dave and Lauren go and meet two of her friends from her like cycling job.
Sure.
I was dying, by the way, that Dave like could not keep up. And
He's
I was
dying.
like, that shows you right there. Listen, everybody, Pilates and cycling, all the men are like, women. And then they
It's the
try a
hardest thing I've
Pilates in
ever
a
done.
cycling class and they can't handle it.
Dying.
They can't handle it. But I loved her friends. Number one, obsessed, because right away, first thing Dave says when he meets them is he's like, yeah, you know, I don't really like, this was kind of hard for me. Like, don't really like to get told what to do. I guess that's kind of how I am in general. And I'm like, if one of my friends is engaged to a guy and first thing he says to me is, I don't like to get told what to do, I'm like, red flag.
It was just so
everywhere.
interesting. But again, to my point about like how the dynamic shifted, it's kind of like he kind of, because of this other guy hookup thing, he then became the one to be chased. And
it's because he shamed her so much and she started feeling bad.
And then even the friends were having to like tell him, no, it's not the way, versus like if I would have been in that situation, I would have felt like, yeah, screw this guy sucks, don't even worry about him. But they were having to defend her character. Lauren was having to defend her character, fight for him, and he was able to kind of behave however he wants, because the power was in his hand, in his mind.
But I loved
so really
her friends so much because her friends read him to the ground. They hated him and they were like, this guy's the worst. And I love when they looked at him and they were like, so, you know, have you ever gone to a bar and flirted with someone? Have you ever, and just like putting it in the scenario, because they could read him top to bottom. It's like, when you guys went on this show, by the way, everybody does this. A reality TV show, they talk to you for a while and interview you for months before you get on the show. And you get a last minute call being like, you're going to go on the show, pack your bags. Everyone's dating. Everyone's hooking up with people. Okay. It's very different if someone's like, I'm in a full blown relationship and then I'm cheating on the person while I go on this show. But Lauren is just like the typical situation where it's like, I was hooking up with some guy who, by the way, I wasn't in a relationship with. And we all know, Dave, that even though you're the one who's saying, I haven't had a girlfriend for 4 years, it's like, and can we ask how many people you've been hooking up with and going on dates
and ghosted and whatever. 100%.
Like, I can guarantee that Dave was out at the bars hooking up the night before he went. And guess what? That's okay, because you weren't with anybody. You know,
and this is kind of where I then put it on Lauren, to be honest with you, kind of at this point, because it's like, he has made it so blaringly obvious that he's not prioritizing you. He believes his friends and his sister over you. He doesn't care about you that much. He's okay with shaming you. Where at some point, Lauren, like, you have to pull the plug and go, you know what, this is not a good guy. He's not a respectful guy. He's not a caring guy. He's a guy that's prioritizing every person except for me. He's prioritizing his own thoughts, desires, other people's opinions, everything. He doesn't respect me as a person, or else he'd know, hey, I spent enough time with you. I know that you're not this person. It's all good. He's much more concerned about everyone else's opinions and the way he looks. This is all about the way he looks. This is not about their relationship or the fact that she's not available for it. It's all about the fact that, wait, I'm going to be with this girl. She hooked up with this guy and I know this guy and this is embarrassing for me. That's all it is. And so the fact that he's down to the wire, he's still struggling with this. He can't get over it. He won't believe her. Like, at some point, he's shown his cards time and time again through these weeks, where it's like, Lauren, at some point, like, if you keep ignoring this, then it's on you. Like, you have to know that, like, this is a bad guy.
And I hear you, but
not on you, but like, you have to see that he's fucking with you.
And I hear you, and I can't believe that she got with him in the first place. But I do have to say, there's then a difference. And once they got back home, the way that then he started to shame her, it's like, that's the type of stuff then where it's like psychologically, like, he's gaslighting her, he's shaming her. And so now there's this feeling like it's a difference. So now I'm like, you know, whereas before in the pods, I was like, you know, Lauren, why the heck are you choosing him? But at this point now, it's like, he's now made her feel a certain way that it's like, it doesn't surprise me then that she's trying to make it work because of the way that he's like psychologically treating her. You know what I mean? And I have a few more thoughts as we wrap, because we got to talk then about like, just about kind of how it ends with the two of them, like the cliffhanger that we're left on. And one other thing about him that I suspect. Okay. But we got to take another quick pause. Family, well, y'all know how I feel about most of the men this season. I just think most of these women would have been happier if instead of leaving the pods with one of these guys, they would have gone and adopted a fur baby. You know what I mean? Like a cute cat. The cat would bring so much joy and love and friendship and honesty. You know what I mean? I suppose the only downside can be that litter box stink just wafting through your place, but we have a solution for that, okay? Pretty Litter. It obliterates odors. I mean, truly, like, wow, my dad, the Cat King, swears by Pretty Litter. Every time we walk into his house, no matter what, I do not smell litter. I smell his candles, his cookies baking, his freshly washed clothes, but no kitty litter. All thanks to Pretty Litter.
Yes, Pretty Litter's non-clumping formula traps odor and moisture. It's ultra absorbent. It's lightweight, low dust, and one 6-pound bag works for up to a month, which is super, super convenient. And talk about convenient, baby. Since Pretty Litter ships free right to your door, you never run out. You don't have huge kitty litter bags taking up space. You don't have to go in and out of the cold and lug those huge tubs from a store to your car and into your house. It's amazing.
Yes, and don't forget, it also provides you peace of mind because Pretty Litter changes color to indicate early signs of potential illnesses in your cat, like urinary tract infections, kidney issues, and more. Pretty Litter is just the best. No kitty litter stink. The low dust means you are not constantly cleaning up after those little dusty paw prints on the floor. The convenience, the small bag not taking up space, and most importantly, the peace of mind. Pretty Litter helps keep your house smelling fresh and clean. Try it and you will love it. Go to prettylitter.com/momdad to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. That's prettylitter.com/momdad to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. prettylitter.com/momdad. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. Okay, quickly back to Lauren and Dave.
I did want to say one thing quickly because it was taking me a while because it's like, listen, we meet different people in our lives. You kind of see different people on the show who are manipulators and like whatever. And you're like certain people who are like skilled manipulators, you know, I go, okay, they're generally like good liars and kind of like, you know, they're slick with it. And I'm like, he's not slick, right? He's just kind of like blunt force object mixed with like weird. And I'm like, what is his deal? And I was trying to figure it out. And he said a couple things that I go, there it is.
Okay.
It's when you are not told throughout your like childhood and upbringing that you're wrong and that you need to step up. Because he talks multiple times about his dad and how he goes, yeah, like, you know, I'm 32 years old now. And, you know, at some point, like, I'm my own man. And it was like, that's a weird comment. And he says it about his sister too. And then he says it about like his upbringing in his life.
She told him to get white sheets because that's what adults do.
Because that's what adults do. And so there's this weird, like very childlike energy about him where it's like, he keeps having to bring up, he even tells her friends, I'm 32 years old. It's this weird, like, my sister and my family have told me what to do my entire life. Yeah. And I am a golden child who can act like a spoiled brat 24/7 and I get away with it. And I'm my own person. And my daddy and my sister can't tell me what to do anymore. Yeah. And so it's really interesting because it reeks of like, I'm my own man until I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because even my friends tell me, like, think about in high school. In like high school and junior high, you're very affected by your friends. And if they have an opinion, you're rattled. And if you show up to school with the wrong shirt on, you're very afraid of being made fun of. It's very immature shit. And that's what he feels like. Yeah. When you're a grown man who's trying to decide your wife and you're just rattled by what your sister and your dad says and your friends say, it's like, you're like, oh, he's like spoiled trust fund kid energy. Yeah.
There's definitely history there too, because he even mentions, he's like, if his mom, you know, rest her soul, if his mom was still around, he's like, she would be telling me everything that I could and couldn't do. Exactly. And he even mentions, he said, yeah, once my mom and dad were married, we'd go visit my mom's house and she made my dad sleep in the basement even when they were married. And I was like, there's a lot.
Weird controlling
there's like some
going
history going on too. Yeah, for sure.
And it seems like when he sticks with his friends and his sister and his dad, he's like, immune to the world. They'll protect me. They'll take care. When I do something bad, they'll cover it up. Whatever.
Yeah, no,
it's
for
like
sure.
he gets away with all his bad behavior because it's like sister will cover for him and tell him you're the best and you're the golden child. It's really weird.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk quickly about how the moment when he was going to have his friends over and then they got into it again and then he decided to leave
and go hang out with them without her.
And go hang out with his friends. And the next morning we find out that he texted her at 3 a.m. and said, I'm staying at my place. And then his text went green when she texted him back in the morning and she's like, I guess his phone was off. Well, he came back and he was like, yeah, it was a good, I went out with my friends. We went to this one bar and, it wasn't a great time though, because I had a lot on my mind, which by the way is so classic. Yeah,
that's why you party till 4 a.m. because it was such a bad time.
Okay, family, let's hear this. At 3 a.m., Dave's texting her saying, I'm going to stay at my house, okay? Which means that he's probably plastered and he's out till very, very late.
Wasted.
And then Lauren starts asking him questions. And she's like, what are the bars that you went to again? And she finds out that he had left out one of the bars that she knew had went down because there were pod people there and Molly was there. And he was like, hey, someone even brought up, should you want to meet Molly? And I said, absolutely not. Family?
1,000%.
I just can feel in my bones that he probably hooked up with someone that night or got really damn close to hooking up with somebody.
Or had like a 2-hour flirty conversation with Molly at the least.
Because for someone to do the 3 a.m. text, I'm staying at my place after partying all night, and then he's trying to make up this excuse where he's like, well, then I left my car here and then, I fell back asleep and that's why I didn't answer you. Your phone was turned off. Because it died? No.
Please.
You turn that phone off. If we don't hear that she finds out that something went down, something went down. Whether we hear about it or not, something went down. And that guy, like I said, believe them when they tell you things about themselves, when they outright say, I cheat.
Right.
And I have been cheating. I just find it ironic that he's like coming for Lauren's throat about hooking up with some guy when they weren't together. And it's like, that he did something shady that night. Of course he did. The way he was acting, of course he did.
1,000%.
Of course he did. Well, for the rest of the episodes, they end up meeting her mom. Her mom is absolutely lovely.
Sweet.
But then when they have their final convo together in episode 10, Lauren and Dave, we hear, because his family hasn't wanted to be on camera, her dad hasn't wanted to be on camera, we hear that he's met her dad, even though we didn't see it.
Right.
And he was like, well, after meeting your dad, it's been really hard on me. And
I think they were on the phone, weren't they? It was like a phone call or something?
No, I think he said meeting your dad.
Did meet?
So
okay.
I think, but he said it was really hard for him. And she's like, yeah, well, it's been really hard for me because you still haven't introduced me to your sister. And that's when he says, well, I don't want to waste her time, which is insane.
And he said, and low key, I've been leading her on to think this won't last.
Yeah.
Which I thought was massive.
That was crazy.
So he's got this honesty thing where he says, but when it's someone he really cares about, he won't be. So he's lying to the sister saying, oh, it's not going to last anyways. Yeah. Because he cares about what her opinion is.
But then he's also continuing to pull Lauren on because he keeps saying but I love you and I want to be with you.
I think he doesn't. I think it's all about the camera at this point. I think he doesn't want to come across like a bad guy.
And I think he thinks in his delusional mind that the audience will be like, boo, Lauren, she was hooking up with someone and you've stayed pure, Dave.
I think he's so convinced because his sister and all his friends are saying that everyone else agrees.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's imploding. I think it won't last till the next episode because I think that they finally reached the point. It's like every day it all comes back to the same issue.
It's either going to implode or they're going to get to the altar and he'll say no at the altar.
Right.
He's not going to go through with this. There's no way. He will not go through with it.
He can't get past it.
No.
He can't get past it that she hooked up with that super hot guy. That's way cooler than he is. And works in the same field, but owns his own company and drives him mental. Because if it was some guy he thought was ugly and not cool, it'd be like, oh, it's kind of weird. Why are you doing that? But not rattled to this level. This guy, we got to see a picture of who this guy is because I'm convinced this guy is what he wishes he could be. Because there's something, he's absolutely rattled.
I don't doubt it.
He's rattled so bad.
All right.
Next?
Should we move on?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about Ben and Sara.
Okay.
I would like to talk about Ben and Sara. Okay. So these two, not tons to share about in Honduras
but
because
cruising.
They were cruising in
Honduras went as smooth as it could have gone.
These two definitely have a lot of sexual chemistry.
Big sexual chemistry. They're very sweet in Honduras. it's just one of those like on vacation relationship energies where it's like you don't have to think about anything. You're not thinking about everything that's gonna come. You're just keeping it very much in the present. And it had me fooled for a little bit where I was like, are they just never going to talk about the issues ever again? You know what I mean? Like, are we good?
He was like doing the thing in front of the mirror where he's like, look at us. Look how good we look together.
He's writing her. She's talking about notes he's writing her,
Yes.
So all the stops.
There were a few moments. There was one point where he was like, I'm trying to find the thing about you that's going to like really bug me. And then he's like, I find it interesting that you keep all the tags on your clothes. And like, that's just seems like girl math. And I was like, that was like a screw you, Ben. Like,
right.
You mean she keeps the tags on her clothes because like she might want to return them? Like, how is that girl math? That was a belittling comment.
That was just a little window.
It was a little window. But in general, their chemistry's popping off. They're the two that I feel like when we were watching,
they felt the most sure thing.
They were like making out. We also hear again from him that he's like, we definitely did that fast. So like they're at least from his, he's saying they're hooking up, whatever. Then we go back home.
Yes.
And again, it seems like smooth sailing back in their apartment. We then meet Ben's friends.
Which were not his friends, by the way. These are central casting. The show provided these friends, by the way. Because it's literally like, It's like he called the casting network. Go, hey, by the way, we had a conversation about gay people, so I need a gay person there. We had a conversation about religion, so I need an agnostic person there. I also need this agnostic to be kind of like drinks too much, and I am kind of the savior who also can be around booze, but isn't affected by it.
Her DD,
and I'm not judgmental. So if you could cast someone like that, and then a couple guys just to be like he's the best. So if you could get that, because I mean, let's be real. It's like they have a conversation about the fact that her sister's gay, and he goes, I think I might be able to be okay with that. And then his best friend happens to be a gay woman. It's like, please, right? And then it's just, it's his friends. It was so bad. Yeah. Where I went back. Yeah. I had to rewind because I was like, are these her friends?
I know.
I was so confused for a second.
And by the way, what I really... If Ben were to come out and say, no, I swear these are really my friends, right? I can promise you these are friends. You know when you say like, oh, that's my friend, and it's because you've gone in like a group of people and gotten drinks like 3 times, that's what's going down. Yes. Because the way they talked about Ben too, when the one agnostic friend was talking about the conversation, she was like, yeah, we were driving and like, the way that she was talking about it was like, she doesn't know him. Yes. She was like, oh yeah, you do go to church, don't you? And then the way that she was saying like, yeah, I drink and I didn't realize he didn't drink. It was also
the friends didn't know each other. Because at one point in time, the girl who goes, I have a girlfriend, was talking to the one who talked about the DD experience. Yeah. And they were like, they didn't know anything about each other. Because like the one with the DD experience goes like, wait, you've never been to church? Like it was just like, they didn't know each other. These are not people who know each other very well, okay? So it's like, yeah, we like Ben. He's a nice guy. Right. Because they've hung out with Ben like 3 times. Exactly. Okay? So like, sure, maybe he'd be able to say like, yeah, they're my friends. But I'm like, these are not people who know Ben's heart and soul. And I can promise you that. And the way he was the way they were talking to was like, he called them, was like, hey guys, by the way, a couple hot points. Gay people and religion. So if you could kind of say, I'm super cool with those things and I'm cool with non-religious and gay people, if you could kind of harp on that to make me look good, that would be great. Yeah. Because that was like the only thing they brought up. They're like, he's a great guy. By the way, I was drunk and he helped me out and I don't go to church and I have a girlfriend, right? So just, he's cool. I think at one point, one of them even said like, oh my gosh, I guess this is just like the hour to talk great about Ben. Right. Because everyone was just like accolades. Yeah. It felt like so fake. It felt like such a hired situation. Because they weren't concerned or interested in her at all. It was just like let's clear his name. But of course, we need to talk about the TikTok video. But first, then let's talk about how then he met Lauren's sister and her sister's partner. Oh, okay. Because then we had a shift go down. Yeah. So we meet her sister Lisa and her partner Kelsey. Yeah. And right away, Sara says to both of them, she's like, you guys, it was so crazy because, when we were in the pods, there was this moment where, how I feel about religion. And I was sharing with Ben, like, I have a religion at arm's length because of what we all experienced. And, I believe so much in equality. She's like, and then Ben said to me, like, equality can't get in the way with your relationship with God.
family.
That's a wild quote.
I don't remember hearing that specific quote.
No.
And it's not like Ben argued it. So I believe this absolutely went down. And to look at somebody who, I know that it wasn't exactly Sara, but then for Sarah's sister, Lisa, to be hearing someone saying that equality should not get in the way of your relationship with God, when Sara has said that they were raised religious and then her sister experienced the casting out because she was gay, to hear the phrase, equality should not get in the way of your relationship with God, I cannot imagine how unsafe Kelsey and Lisa felt in that moment.
Right.
And we'd mentioned it last week where I was like, the idea of then meeting the sister, it's going to be like, how safe is her sister going to feel? And to hear that comment, but Sara bringing it up and being like, and then I even mentioned to my friend Taylor in the pods, like, I felt really dismissed when he said that, but then I came back and Ben apologized and he was like, I'm so sorry. No, equality is so important to me. It means so much to me. I think Sara knows.
Oh my gosh.
Sara is super attracted to Ben. They have crazy chemistry. She likes Ben, at least what he's presenting to her, a lot. But she knows that there's a problem. And I think that's the only reason. It's like, you know, when you like confess something because you almost want to get caught.
Yes.
It's like she was saying this to her sister and her sister's partner to be like, I have to say this right away because I almost want you to tell me don't do it. You know what I mean? It was because if that wasn't in the back of her mind, she wouldn't have. Why would she bring up that exact scenario?
Well, here's the thing. So, in my opinion, well, you see this too. She got defensive.
Sara.
Yeah, Sara spoke early and often about how much her sister's her world. She spoke early and often about how the person she's with has to be super supportive of the sister's lifestyle. That was like a non-negotiable. Where she's at now is that she feels like she's found the love of her life. And the one thing they don't agree on is what was foundational for her. Mm-hmm. I personally feel like she's killing off a piece of herself to make this relationship work.
Yes.
She feels bad about it.
Yep.
She knows it's offensive and hurtful to her sister. She's trying to reconcile that and figure out a way around it. She knows there's no way around it. And so therefore she kind of then starts like snapping back at like the couple. She's kind of like, well, I don't need you guys to be 100% behind it. I need you to accept, you know, and then even the acceptance piece, right? By
the way, how fucking badass were her sister and her partner when her partner was like, you know,
like
can we stop using the word acceptance?
Like there's something wrong with us.
It makes us feel, she's like, we have to accept you fuckers all the time.
Exactly.
that was her sister's partner was.
But the difference was this, and this is kind of what was sad to me, was that, it was just sad all around because Ben's just Ben, right? So Ben's like, we don't know a lot about what's going on with Ben, but we do know that he's Mr. I'm better than all of you, but I'm cool with you energy, right? Mm-hmm. Which is the classic kind of cloak and dagger, you know, wolf in sheep's clothing energy. But what I felt sad for was that, first of all, that Sara was kind of knowing what was going on. And you could tell her war with it, but she was, instead of just kind of knowing it was off, she was kind of fighting against it.
Yeah.
It was sad to me that the sister was the saddest to me because the sister's partner was fighting Ben on it, fighting Sara on it, kind of defending them, kind of going on. And
the partner was protecting her.
The sister went quiet.
I know.
Because the sister kind of saw what was happening and she saw the combativeness. She saw that Sara wasn't really open. She saw the change.
Yeah.
And it was almost like she barely said a word and she just goes, okay, well, you know, we'll kind of see. You could see the like, there's no real point in fighting this right now.
It was heartbreaking, and it's also like something that I think probably then resonated with us coming from similar situations where like you've had those conversations with people that in your family that you love, and then you see the choices that they make and you're like, wow, like, yeah.
And it's like what I talk about a lot, which is like when you have friends that date someone that you think is bad for them, or it's like a bad, or you're seeing bad signs, you know, them turning to someone you don't recognize, and then you try to like confront them on it, and then they kind of push you away.
Yeah.
That's the energy I got from the sister was like, she's not meeting us with open arms. She's not seeing what we're talking about. Yeah. The more we talk, the more we're going to get pushed out of her life.
Except then it's tenfold because you're talking about something
no. It's what I'm talking about on steroids. I'm just saying like, you could see the sadness of like, we're not getting anywhere. I almost just want this to be over because the more we push, the more she's going to dig in.
No, it really was devastating. And you're right. Sister like really pulled back. Though her partner, Kelsey, was amazing, so fucking badass because the comments where she was like, yeah, of course I'm accepted. I was made in the image of God, right? Like, I mean,
exactly.
Sister's partner, Kelsey, was such a badass because she also, you saw how much she loved Lisa. Sister Lisa, and was like, I'm going to take care of her. I'm going to take care of Lisa in this situation.
I'll be the one that says something because this is too hurtful for her. It was
like the love between the two of them was like so palpable and like, but it was heartbreaking.
But they saw them losing Sara. That's what it felt like.
It really did.
It was like, this is the beginning. If she's already this defensive and this kind of not, whatever, and it's already been just this short time, and he's not making it obvious that like there's an issue. Like, it's not like he was like yelling at them. He was calmly sitting there. So it's like, he's confident knowing he has Sara. And that was scary for him.
Especially that moment where then he says like, hey, listen, we both align so much. Like, we're both fiscally conservative and socially liberal. And they were like, no. And Kelsey looks at Sara and she goes, you are? You are?
Yeah.
Like, that's how you feel?
It was like, oh, you've learned some new stuff that like he's convinced you that it's like a cool middle ground, right? Yeah.
And then Kelsey was looking at Sara going, hey, you know what? Like, what you need to remember is that like, this affects us.
Right.
Like, you're talking about voting, and we're talking about voting, you're talking about fiscally conservative, socially liberal. Like, he's privileged in this situation. Like, this affects us. And it was heartbreaking because it was like, look at us right now. Like, you love us. We're your family. Like, when you left, you were just overall liberal. And now all of a sudden we're like adding this like nuance to it because it was devastating.
Being around Orange County for a long time, the whole fiscally conservative, socially liberal thing is a way to say, I don't support your rights, but I like money a little bit more, but I'm still going to vote for the person that will destroy your rights. And it's this kind of, I'm chill. I'm not scared. I'm chill, right, man? But I'm telling you right now, it's just the way in.
Ding, 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 ding.
It's the way in. And so it's just one of those things where
and
it's
they
like,
know it. Yeah.
And it's another way, I mean, low key of saying, I'm not willing to put money behind my values. So it's cloak and dagger for sure. It's them seeing their sister kind of lose their support, which was devastating.
Sad. And when he walked away to get drinks, they were kind of looking at her and they were like, listen, like, we love you and want to support you, but like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Like, it was really heartbreaking.
Big time.
It was really heartbreaking. And I have hope that Sara, that was a seed that's planted in Sarah's heart to think about like who she so deeply loves, her sister.
I don't.
You don't have hope?
No. Seen that vibe too many times. When you're in love, when you're blind to everything else.
I have hope because I think
something devastating has to happen.
I wish it was just that. I wish it was just that for Sara that like spoke to her. But I think that combined with the TikTok video, I have hope.
Okay, we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, we want to talk about this TikTok video situation, but we got to take one last quick pause, family. So some of these Love is Blind couples have been talking about wanting to have a lot of kids. Again, we shall see who makes it to the altar. But as someone who has a child, let me tell you, you want your kiddo to get all the vitamins and minerals they need. But for us, we were in a pickle for a while because either our daughter found the daily vitamin that she was taking gross tasting, or we were finding that most typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy additives growing kids should never eat. So yeah, like I said, we were in a pickle. That is until we discovered Haya's super powered chewable vitamin. Haya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy additives, yet it tastes great and is perfect for picky eaters. It is not an exaggeration when I tell you that since Ember started taking Haya vitamins, that is what she is asking for first thing when she wakes up in the morning, okay? Because she loves the taste. It is such a win for kids and for parents. Such a win.
Yeah, it's true. Haya is formulated with the help of pediatricians and nutritional experts and pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals to help support immune system energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. Oh, and are you tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens? I know I was. Hiya now has kids' daily greens plus superfoods, a chocolate flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with 55 plus whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy.
Oh, they're just the best.
Yeah.
Hiya is designed for kids 2 and up and sent straight to your door, so parents have one less thing to worry about. We just love them. And you also get this cool bottle with your first order, and then they send you eco-friendly refills every month. Plus, Ember's bottle came with stickers so that she could decorate it, and she loved that she could personalize it. They think of everything. They're the best. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/mom-and-dad. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/mom-and-dad. That's hiyahealth.com/mom-and-dad, and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Okay, so back to Ben and Sara. So let's talk about this TikTok video. So, timeline of this, they go and they meet his friends. She's like, oh, this went better than I expected, blah, 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 blah. But then they're sitting on the couch and she like gasps and she's like, look at this video of this girl on TikTok crying, referencing shitty men on the show, like how reality TV will platform these shitty men. That was strange, the way that she like pulled it up and then showed it to him. I think it was a test.
But he said it before because she goes, I just saw a video, goes, is it a girl crying? And she's talking about a guy.
Because he said that he saw it. Yeah. He saw it at the brewery with the friends, but I'm saying the way that she brought it up to him was strange to me. I think it was a test because I think she knew it was about him.
Yeah, right.
The way she randomly just goes, oh, look at this, let's watch this together. I think she knew it was about him.
Of course.
And she was waiting to see if he'd lie about it.
And he does the classic move. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm gone. My brain, I can't remember anything. And I don't remember if we've ever talked since. And I don't know what's going on. And it's funny. I remember everything, but I don't remember that one thing that's controversial for me.
Yeah. And I love that he was like, I said, screw this. I don't want to give her an ability to do anything, having anything to do with me. So I blocked her because like she blocked me. I'm like, I would have loved to get a visual on the bathroom at the brewery when he got a text from a friend about the video and then was like scrambling to block her so that she couldn't like tag him or something.
Exactly. But I think that what gave away the biggest thing, because he was like, it was 4 years ago. I don't even remember. Where it's like, yeah, okay, that's crazy. It's but my favorite is and when she goes like, have you guys talked since? And he goes like, I don't even remember. Could have been some DMs. Can't remember.
He's like, there may be a DM in there. It reminded me so much.
Can't remember is like one of the wilder ones. It reminded me
so much of Steven from the last season, Sleep Test Steven, where he got like was exchanging the sexting DMs, and he was like, she's like, what was said, and he's like, I don't remember.
It's like it was last night, dude.
And that was what Ben was giving, where he was just like, yeah, she's overreacting. We never hooked up. I don't remember. And she's like, oh, well, what exactly did you guys go on dates? And he's like, and he couldn't even directly answer her. It's like, this man remembers every single thing that happened, okay? This man remembers every date, every moment with this person, and he is actively lying to try to dismiss whatever is going on. You saw it all over his face.
100%.
You saw it all over his face. And what started then to get my wheels turning a lot was, again, that moment in Mexico where he was like, yeah, we did it fast. And I'm like, he gives all the quote unquote perfect answers.
Yeah.
He's anything that Sarah's like, I'm into, he then changes his mind. He's like, yes, baby girl, anything. Here's everything perfect about me, everything perfect. Like, I'm going to do it, top to bottom, but behind closed doors, when you get to know him, is a very different guy.
Yeah. I think he's really obsessed with the way he looks. And I like the way he looks like outwardly, and I think for him it's all about, I want her to look at me as the perfect, basically that I'm better than her and then she's lucky to be with me energy.
He even kind of made a comment like that at the drinks with the sisters. He's like, yeah, Sarah's always talking to me about like how I'm so perfect. And he's
Exactly.
like, you're perfect
And
like me
she's
too, but you're
great.
just different in that way.
Exactly. So
Ben,
his whole thing is, I want to be in the power position at all times. I want to be the hottest. I want to be the coolest. I want to be the best. I'm the DD. I'm not sloppy and drunk. I'm open, but I'm also religious. I'm the perfect blend, baby.
Yeah.
That's his energy.
I think we're going to find out.
Boiling.
We're going to find out more about Ben in upcoming episodes. I just
Completely
can feel
agree.
it. Also, too, I mentioned this to Evan. I'm like, the fact that like the show wasn't even released yet. It was just rumors that Ben had gotten engaged, and there's already people posting about what a bad guy he is. It's like, okay.
Big time.
Okay. And Sara, what bums me out so much about Sara, and it ties back into with the drinks with her sister, is that Sarah's going like, I believe you, Ben. Like, I don't want to take away from her what she's saying.
Yes.
It's like Sarah's doing this thing where she's giving the answers that she thinks that like she should give to be politically correct.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to take away her story and I don't want to not believe her, but I believe you, Ben. Same thing with the sister, where it's like, yeah. I hear what you're saying. And like, no, I support you and I love equality, but like, I'm down to then ride with him.
It's people who mold into the people they're with too. It's interesting.
Well, she basically though says to him, she wraps it by saying, if I hear more about you and that you're not being honest about this, I can't trust you. So you need to tell me everything. But then like the next day they see each other and she's like, I was thinking about it and like, I get from your perspective. And so I don't know, we'll see. But I think we're going to find out more about Ben.
Unless something massive comes where it's like completely derailing, I have very little hope, unfortunately.
Yeah. I feel like we're going to hear more about Ben.
Okay, we'll see.
We shall see.
Next.
Okay, let's move on.
Yes.
Let's talk about Joey and Monica. Okay, so like I said at the beginning, at least in Honduras, I was feeling like, when's the shoe going to drop? We're going to find out these bad things about Joey. There was also the preview where I was like, oh, are we going to find out stuff? But overall in Honduras, these two seemed like they were doing great. Yeah. They seemed like they were connecting. They were laughing. They were having a great time. They had tons of stuff in common. We even get a conversation where he opens up and talks about his OCD, which I loved to see some OCD representation on TV, because I feel like even in Love is Blind before, there's been conversations where someone's like, yeah, I'm so OCD. Like I have to be organized. And it's like, shut up. Like people struggle, okay? It's not just like a phrase that you can use and be like, so OCD. It's like, no. People with OCD, this is a big deal, okay? I'd love to have to see a conversation about that on TV. But she then, the way that she handled it too, when he was talking about his OCD, I loved, she was asking him questions about it. It was like such a beautiful conversation between the two of them, because she wasn't then like using stereotypes to like talk about things with him. She was just like asking him questions about how he's worked through it and all of that. I thought it was great. The laughers. I mean, she's iconic. Her laughter is so great. I mean, she's definitely like, there's a lot of people who have false senses of how funny they are around her, because she's such a great laugher that you're definitely like, I'm killing it. You're like, man, he'd be like, yeah, it was crazy. And she'd be like, oh my no, like just dying laughing. Okay, but then we see the meeting of her family. Yeah. Okay, so Joey meets her mom, dad, sister, and her sister's
the fam jam, baby.
Boyfriend. Her family, her mom and dad were so stinking cute. I could not
just like,
even
hey guys,
handle it.
Let's bust out a bunch of instruments and just play around. And then like the brother-in-law is just like, it's not even good. It was just like, this is what we do to have fun. The dad's like playing bongos. Like, I mean, it was like a joke.
Talk about pure. It was
pure
just like
joy.
Monica was so embarrassed. I would have been very embarrassed if my family did it. But it's like the fact
Joey joined in. He's playing,
and like, he was doing it hard.
More in that family than she was.
He was vibing hard. There was a moment where we saw her room. And I spotted some ACOTAR books, some romantasy. I was like, that's my girl, Monica. Yes.
Thoughts on the sock bin?
I am so fine with the sock bin.
It's fine with the sock bin.
Yeah, because I wear your socks constantly. I will wear anyone's socks. They're clean. I'm not like wearing your dirty socks. Right. But like socks are socks. They can mostly fit on anybody's feet. Okay. Are you down with the sock bin?
I'm medium, because it depends on the sock game. Like, you steal my socks, I don't steal yours. True. So therefore you love a sock bin. So it's like, if I'm stealing other people's socks, then I'm down. But I don't want to. But like, if the sock bin is just full of the socks I like that are mine, and then the rest of all y'all's, and it's just like colored socks that are like, you know, thick and gray, and I don't want to, okay, like, you know, the warm ones. I don't want, like, so if, you know what I mean? It's like, so basically I just lose by you stealing all my socks, then I'm less into the sock bin.
I just take all of your socks.
Where his thing is more like, this is gross.
Yeah. I get why people are grossed out by it, but feet don't gross me out, and also it's clean, so it doesn't bother me. Okay. I'm down for the sock bin.
It was funny. He had rattled him.
But throughout this, I was noting the sister because the sister was making comments, you know, where she was kind of just like coming for him immediately. Like she right away goes, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you have someone already?"
Right.
So he's trying to talk about it.
It's like, wait, have you been talking to Dave?
Are you and Dave? Are you guys
friends? It's the same line Dave had.
And then at one point too, after they do the fam jam, Monica's mom is like, "Oh my God, you guys are so cute." And the sister's like, "Well, what about us?"
It was like,
and I'm like, "You guys have
that was embarrassing.
Been together."
It was like that.
But then we get the tea where we find out that Monica was actually the one who was talking to the boyfriend first.
Yeah.
And then was like, "You know what? I think you'd actually really like my sister." Yeah. And then the sister and him started dating. And then Joey is like, "So should I be worried about him?" He's like, "So what you're saying is you're after Monica the whole time?" And I'm like, "Oh no, Joey."
Or even worse, he goes, because he goes, the boyfriend is dating the sister to get back to Monica.
Yeah, he's like, she's just trying to get to Monica
so
the entire time.
So the sister hates him for that.
And I'm like, of course the sister's going to hate him because of that. Joey just unintentionally just opened a family wound
they've been working on for years.
Is so deep that it's like these two clearly have competition. Specifically, her older sister has like tons of competition with her.
Low key, you know, Monica turned him down.
Yeah, it does sound
so
like
then
that.
It's like always the sister always knows that deep down the initial interest was Monica. And then they have that conversation outside and it got worse.
Yes. So Monica's sister takes her outside and is basically like, you know, he's not your type.
Right.
Like your type is 6'5" Italian. And Monica's like, well, that's everybody's type.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know. There's just something about him. I feel like he's an actor. Monica's sister says, "You know how well I can read people." Right. And Monica agrees.
But you got to be careful with when people say, "You know how well I can read people," because that sometimes can reek of, you know, I can say whatever I want and get away with it by kind of prefacing it with that.
Yes.
So it's either she is good and we might find out more about Joey, or it's just her way of saying, I want to say bad shit that's rude and I can kind of hide behind this. I'm really
she's
smart.
going to be rattled because Joey made those comments about her boyfriend
100%.
liking her sister.
And it was funny because they zoomed out and they showed everyone laughing except the sister.
Which I get. That would be really brutal. Like the whole thing would be brutal.
Yeah.
But when she said, I can read people, I can tell like he's hiding something. He's not a good guy.
Yeah.
He's acting. He says all the right things and knows what to say.
Sure.
I'm like, if Joey actually does end up being a guy who's too good to be true and has been lying to Monica and sucks, I feel so bad for Monica because her sister will hold that over her head like you cannot believe.
Well, because what followed right after that was, I'm older than you. I'm the one that's supposed to get married first. And I'm like, is this Cinderella? I was like, is this a movie about 1800s, like when people would go to those balls and get married, where it's like, I'm the eldest. I'm supposed. How is she getting married?
At the Ton.
It's unfair that she's talking to the young man. I'm the eldest. I should be getting married this fall ball.
My dowry is first.
My dowry is first. How dare she usurp my timeline? It felt like, it was like, she was dead serious. So it's one of those things where it was like, it was shrouded in a bunch of those comments, which kind of just didn't make it feel honest, but we'll see.
Well, and then after they all got together, Joey and Monica had such an interesting conversation. I thought Joey handled it really, really well.
Yeah.
Joey's like folding the clothes and he's like, yeah, well, it went great, but your sister doesn't like me. And she's like, yeah, you know, I like, it can't be that way. Like, she's got to like you. And he's like, I think that you two need to talk. He's like, I'm down to talk to her, but clearly you two need to talk. And he's like, as an outside party, can I say that maybe jealousy might be a factor? He nailed it. And he kind of read them to filth. He
nailed it.
He read them to filth. Like, he was like, I'm down to talk to her, which I appreciated about him. Sure. He's like, I'm down to talk to her.
It doesn't seem like it's a me
I think
issue.
you two need to talk. And then even after
with the photo shoot,
They end up having a photo shoot with her sister, which, by the way,
the gift, which is a great way to get away from a gift.
The only way that she was down to meet up with Joey again was because she's like, hey, I'll do a quote unquote gift-free photo shoot for you because I can now use this to plug my photography business.
Exactly.
This is the way that her sister was like, whatever her name, Nicole's photography.
It's too funny that she's like, it's a gift for you. It's like, that's
like,
her way of getting out of a wedding gift that actually costs a bunch of money.
It was also like, you were going to charge your sister to take
I'm
photos?
going to hook you guys up. It's like, okay, unless you're like one of the world's biggest, even still, that's crazy.
I mean, I will say the photos looked beautiful.
It was just very funny. But it was funny because then after the photo shoot, they talk and the sister's like, you know what? I didn't really give you a chance and I'm sorry. I see how much you guys love each other, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't even go, thank you for that. It was like, he basically was like, I'm glad you guys spoke.
No, he goes, why don't you two hug?
Yeah, he's like, why don't you guys say you're sisters?
He said, it's okay to hug. You guys can hug.
He realized, he's like, y'all got issues, had nothing to do with me.
Joey was not a fan, and he didn't, what I did respect is that he didn't pretend to be like, oh no, it's all good, I love your sister. He's like, I don't like her.
He's like, she sucks, but you guys need to work this out.
But like, you guys can work it out, and I'll be a supportive partner by showing up and talking with her about it, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's all good, I love you, besties.
So funny.
Like, he's like, I can read what's going on right now, and I have to say, I really respected how he handled it.
Yeah.
The sister, she sucked.
Big time.
But you know what? If she's ultimately right about Joey, wild. And she'll never let Monica hear the end of it.
For Monica, because it's just like, she'll always have to be like, I told you, I am the all-seeing eye. And now I get to get married first.
Now, here's the one caveat I have with Joey while I was watching this. In these episodes, I really enjoyed him. Mm-hmm. I was feeling bad about what I said in the first 6, maybe taking it back, kind of tripping about it, whatever. The only caveat I have is that I think he is maybe playing nice guy a little more than how he feels sometimes. Like maybe that's kind of a mask he'll wear to cover up tough conversations, because I think he's actually way more annoyed with Monica than he's letting on.
Agreed. It reminds me of who from the couple seasons ago, where it was like everything they did just bothered the fuck out of him. Forgot. It
feels like many people.
Yeah, but it was specific. But yeah, it's like her cleanliness or lack of, her kind of like the way that she does everything. He's kind of getting the ick, I feel like.
I feel like he is too, because the way that he's been like, the way he went from Mr. Giggly guy, that when they're in the apartment, you can tell he's plastering a smile on, but he's like, oh, you're going to just dump all your clothes out like that, huh? And he's plastering on a smile. So I think that he's getting the ick with her.
Oh, it was the Jimmy and what's her name too. Jimmy was always kind of just like, oh, you're doing that, or you're dressed like that. No, but I'm just saying it's kind of that like ick thing where I do feel like with Joey, there's this kind of like the way you live is grossing me out.
Yeah, I agree. And so I feel like I can't read if Joey is feeling the ick, but trying to push through it. So he's plastering the smile on, or if like, is Joey here for the cameras and trying to like muscle his way through it and be like Mr. Nice Guy? Because he's
lost a little bit of that like lovey vibe.
Yes.
It's like now that they're in the house, he's kind of like, ugh.
So I just don't know, like I said, if it's like pure of heart, like I'm trying to push through because I do really like what we have, but like I'm getting icked out, or if I'm trying to like be good guy for the camera and then I'm going to bail on you. Like I can't quite read it. That's my caveat with him.
100%.
So just a side note, something to think about.
Should we talk about Virginia and Devin?
Let's talk about Virginia and Devin. Okay, on to Virginia and Devin. So in Honduras, these two...
Interesting.
It was an interesting dynamic because I got the vibe that I'm like, Heath is super into her physically. I don't think that she's physically attracted to him.
It's crazy. Just to blanket their whole relationship is her saying nothing but, you're the person, I've chosen you. It's amazing. I'm into you physically. I'm into you, vibes wise. I love how you move. Like the words, I have zero fears about our relationship, but she couldn't be more apathetic.
Yeah.
The way she's acting.
Yeah.
She always just goes, yeah.
I can't tell.
Like, do you love me? And she goes, yeah, it's great.
I can't tell if she's just super chill, or if she's like, she's pushing this because she's like, this is maybe the type of guy I feel like I should be with, but I'm not attracted to him. I don't think she's attracted to him.
She always talks about the whole like bad boys, athletes, whatever. And so I think she's legitimately going like, I'm committed to changing my life. I'm
trying to make this work.
To just kind of eat it.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. I don't know if that's the truth.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's what my energy is getting from the experience.
Also, I was noticing when they were in Honduras, their age got brought up numerous times. And I think it bothers her that he's younger. And I think he looks younger to her. And that's not necessarily her type. Because
he has cartoon sleeve on his leg, and she's like clearly icked out by it.
She goes,
she's
do you like cartoons? And he goes, no, I don't watch cartoons. And I was like,
I don't know many people that as an adult get sleeves that mean nothing to them currently.
Yeah. Devin is, and we'll keep talking about it, but Devin, when he's got a sleeve full of cartoons, and then he said, no, I don't even like watch cartoons. And then she's like, oh, are you into video games? He's like, no, I don't play video games. Devin is giving me the guy who is trying to be, I guess it's similar to a Ben situation.
Yes.
Trying to be this perfect guy and say all the quote unquote right things to keep her locked in. Like, you know he loves cartoons and you know he watches or he plays video games.
Yes.
But he's trying to say all the things to keep her locked in. And then we see it throughout this episode when then she brings up the prenup and everything. He's then trying to not act rattled even though you know he hates it.
Who was the in-debt guy back in the day?
Oh, Izzy.
He's Izzy.
Yeah, he's got Izzy vibes.
It's kind of this like I'm trying to act like I'm super grown up when I'm just not quite there yet.
Yeah.
And I'm dating this woman who's kind of clearly got her shit together,
She's
maybe a little
doctor.
older, right? And it was the same with Izzy. It was like I forgot her name, but it was like
Stacy.
It was like Stacy was like, I own my own house. I got my shit together. I work out 4 hours a day. I invest. Like it was very like I'm an adult. And Izzy was always like, me too, totally. I'm very much the same you are. And then like the second they started hanging out, you realized it was not that way.
Yeah.
And like the same goes with Devin. Devin's like still very like, I don't want to say controlled, but like very like his parents' opinion mean a ton of like the way he moves and shakes. He keeps talking about how like one day he's going to like kind of get where he wants to be. He's got a lot of like, these tattoos. He's talking about like, I have kid tattoos. Like he wants to just be honest about the fact that he's still kind of a kid at heart and he just but he's trying to impress this girl that's like just kind of seems bigger than life. And it's just, he's too cool for school. Like he won't bring up topics that bother him. So he just kind of keeps going, no, it's no problem for me. I'm chill, man. I'm the man.
It's the guy to me where it's like he's stuffing down all of his the true things about him, and then if they were to get married, I think she's gonna wake up one day and be like, who is this guy?
100%.
Who is this guy?
And
because he was feeding me. I think she knows it too.
Yes.
Well, because once we get back home with them, we start having conversations when they go and visit his place, then her place. They start having conversations about finances. She's like, I want to be a millionaire through investments. You can tell this woman knows what the fuck she's talking about. She's talking about investments. She's talking about different accounts. She's talking about all this stuff financially and like what her goals are. And he's just kind of nodding along, going like, yeah, same for me too.
Like,
same for me too.
I don't like the idea of a prenup because if you're a millionaire, I'd like some of that. Well, also, I do have some debt. I don't want to talk about it. Also, it was just a lot of like, and one day I will be the CEO. It was like shit. I'm a little nervous now that she's talking like this.
Well, and that's when she mentions that she's like, I would like to get a prenup. Which, by the way, everyone going on Love is Blind should get a prenup.
I feel like everyone who's like an adult, maybe if you're like 16 or whatever, but it's like when you're an adult and you have career and you're 34 years old and you're getting married, you should absolutely have a prenup to like protect yourself. You don't know what's going to happen. Do whatever you want.
By the way, do whatever you want makes you comfortable. By the way, there's nothing not romantic about a prenup.
Zero.
It's just you're just understanding what may happen and you're protecting yourself.
And her prenup was even more chill. It was like, hey, we just leave with what we came in with.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like I get half your shit. It was like, it was like, just, hey, we're coming into this thing and let's just leave how we started. So if everything goes bad, like it was a very reasonable. We're just being
logical, we're protecting ourselves.
But his very old school kind of conservative mindset that he kind of keeps hiding is like the way where it's like, oh, prenups mean you want to get divorced.
Yeah, or it's like, it's not how it should be.
Exactly.
It's not how it should be.
It's not how it should be.
There's a lot of that from Devin. What should be.
Exactly.
Right? So then when they meet his family, when she meets his family.
A lot more conservative than she thought. And
by the way, the second that they all sit down, Mom mentions being equally yoked. So I'm like, okay, we come from a real religious household.
Once you say the equally yoked.
Equally yoked is a real religious household. Second they sit down, his family starts grilling her, Evan. The level of personal questions that were going down, like, had my jaw on the floor.
It was giving marriage counseling at churches.
It totally
when
was.
They're like, because the whole time I thought, that's not your business.
That's what,
there were so many times
any of your
it was like,
business.
this is not your business. Like her financial situation, the way she thinks about, like, this is not your business.
No, it's completely inappropriate in my opinion.
And she was an open book. She was so sweet about it. She's just like, yeah, bang, bang, bang.
I mean,
she's
a boss. Like, she's been handling this thing beautifully. But then the sister at one point was like, the sister goes, yeah, you know, when it comes to kids, I know you're a little older, so like, what's the plan?
Yeah, it was so invasive.
Like, excuse me?
It was very invasive.
You're asking me about my age and what my plan is when it comes to kids? Like, that is so inappropriate.
Yeah.
And then not even brother-in-law had a million personal questions. And I'm like, this isn't
invasive.
even, it wasn't even mom and dad asking the questions. Mom and dad wasn't saying anything. Yeah. Mom was more chill. It was sister, but brother-in-law was just like, you know, you're talking about being open to prenup. Like, are you comfortable merging your finances together? Yeah. Like, are you okay with the idea that like our mom and dad might like have to move in with you guys? I'm
that
like,
was crazy. I would have been like, no, I don't even know you people.
I'm just
if you prove that you're awesome
today.
over 20 years, maybe, but that's insane.
I just met your mom and dad 5 minutes ago, and you're asking me about them. Why don't you take them?
That's what I said. I was like, why are you asking me? I don't even know you. I just met you. You're the one that's been here a long time. Why don't you take their ass? You're asking me if I'm going to take them? This is crazy. I understand if this is the only child, but like, what the fuck?
This is crazy.
Why are you asking me if I got to have them?
But then when they bring up the prenup, everyone kind of shuts down when they hear prenup. Yeah. And you watch.
That's a sign that she wants out.
Right. And then, you know, mom's just like, what if he loses his job? What if he gets sick? And, you know.
Again, it was weird.
But Virginia.
None of this was, I want to take care of you, Virginia.
Or also like, Virginia, can we get to know you at all?
It was
literally just like.
It was all like billing and like, it was all like accounting. It was really weird.
Well, and then, but
it was never, hey, Virginia, what if you lose your job? It was always, what if he?
Yeah, I know. But Virginia was so amazing. Well,
she was amazing.
She's like, listen, I've done more and lesser commitments. Like, I'm not saying that this prenup is because I'm like planning on like, I would have been like, I'm out. This is crazy. On getting married to him and then ditching his ass. Like, I'm not going to just bail just because times get tough. Like, if I'm marrying him, I'm going to marry him. But like, I think a prenup is like she's like, in this day and age, like, I think it's a wise thing to do. And then when she walks away for a minute, they talk with Devin, and sister's like, I'm concerned about the prenup, which, by the way, we could all tell because we all saw Devin's face that the second Virginia brought up a prenup in general, Devin was shutting down. He's trying to push through it, and he's going like, yeah, but you know, she wasn't saying it because she's planning on getting divorced. It's just like, you know, to protect us and da-da-da. He's trying to push through it, but you know it's driving him crazy, the idea of a prenup.
Well, and let's be real. Let's just be 100% honest. He works at a high school.
She's a doctor.
It's like, she knows that he loses on this deal.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I was kind of hoping that you were kind of rich. Kind of seems like it. So maybe I could get some of that. That's what it kind of felt like.
Well, then they meet her mom. I mean, that mom seems like obsessed with Devin. And
Mom's
like less
sweet. Even to the point where I felt like Virginia was kind of like, you know, it's not bad that you guys were like, it's not like a stain on my life that you guys got divorced. Like, she was almost kind of defending the mom.
I know. At
and
one point, mom was like, Devin, does it concern you that she comes from a divorced family?
Right.
And I was like, is that a thing? So I'm like, I'm pretty sure like half of us have divorced parents. I know. Like, is that
especially in today, maybe in the 50s, you could say that, but like now.
Even that, I mean, what?
No, I'm just saying, like, before when it was maybe less common, but like nowadays, it's like.
But then we come to the clincher,
the very
Evan,
end,
where we see the last conversation with them in bed, which, by the way, he asks, he's like, let's talk about like stuff that like they're like, let's talk about stuff we're walking through. And he's like, are we good on
And she was probing him.
But first, like, but first though, he the one question he asks is, he's like, are we good on a physical level?
Yes.
Because probably
nothing's happening.
Stuff isn't going down.
And she's like, I'm working on it.
And she's like, yeah.
It's great. Cool.
We're fine.
It's fine.
She's like, we're fine. Which
talking to him like a buddy, just like
which then continued ascension for me that I'm like, I don't think she's physically attracted to him.
And then what she does next is what I think is where she's kind of maybe looking for a way out.
Probably.
Because she knows. Because he keeps burying the lead, in my opinion, with this whole faith thing. Because he brings up faith in these super essential times.
Yeah.
And because he'll out of nowhere just be like, the whole reason why I went on the show is because of my faith. And I was like, okay. The way I vote is because of my faith.
Yeah.
The way I think about the rest of my life is my faith. But yet, previous to that, very little faith talk in regards to like no specifics.
Yeah.
Then you meet the family, heavy Christian. You know what I mean? Conservative. Yeah. And then he kind of they start talking about politics and he's like, my family votes hardcore conservative. It was like, oh, you've been kind of burying, and she's been noticing
Well, it's like, when she brings it up, so she's like, maybe we should talk about politics,
right.
which goes to show that these two probably haven't gone deep.
Right.
Even though they've had tons of conversations. And I think, again, like I'm going to harp on this, I think he's trying to present a certain picture and agree with her and try to say all the right things all the time.
Yes.
Because even again, when we bring up the prenup, clearly you saw all over his face that he was not down for that. But he's like, well, okay, this is what she wants, so I'm going to try to like just act like
chill.
I'm good, but like let's cut to if they get married, what it's actually going to look like on the other side, how his opinions about it. So then when she brings up politics, he gives the answer. I'm not super into politics. The classic answer. I'm not really big into politics. He's like, what, are you one side or the other? And she's like, well, I typically vote Democratic. And she's like, I think it's a flawed system, but I think it's really important to vote. So we hear her say that, by the way. She doesn't say, I'm not big into politics. She's like, I think it's very important to vote.
Right.
And then he's like, well, he just kind of goes, And again, he won't come outright and say it. He just says, when you're voting, do you try to align it with your faith as well?
Again, back to the faith.
And he won't just come outright and tell her what he believes.
Because she's like, well, how do your parents? He's like, well, my parents are very conservative. I'll vote conservative.
And it's like, how he thinks, how he believes. It's the conversation that we had about him and Brittany, where I told you, I said, the way that he handled hearing that she was with a woman before, I'm like, I was getting a strong vibe from him. And now when she's saying like, hey, I vote Democratic. And he's like, well, but what about that aligning with your faith? It's like, Devin, just come right out and just say it. Like, just say how you vote so that she knows, even though I'm like, you can get what's going down. And she's like, well, yeah, I do vote for my faith, but it just might be a little bit of a different opinion than how some people vote with their faith. She's like, and I love that she said that. She's like, I think that all people should have abortion rights. I think that gay people should have rights. And what I love that she said too, because this was like literally what encompassed everything on this show, was she said, it's hard because all those things are becoming political conversations again. And I thought we were so far past that, but we're not. And I wanted to literally stand up and be like, that's what it is. That's why we're having all these conversations about politics, because it's like, oh, I didn't think these things used to be political conversations, but now they are.
Right.
Like, how have we gone so far backwards that these are now political conversations? And I'm like, okay, so now you know where Virginia stands. It's very clear. And she's like, care to comment?
And it's interesting because you could tell he didn't, he wasn't well versed in the topics she was talking about.
No.
Because he didn't talk about the topics. He just was like, in my mind, you vote a certain way because your church tells you to.
Yep.
Energy.
Yep.
So it was just like, I have a pamphlet given to me on how to vote, and it's what my church tells me. It's what my parents tell me.
Yep.
Instead of like having an opinion on any of these topics. So it was really interesting because he never went like, well, it was just mostly like, well, so do you vote with your faith? And it was like, what does that mean?
Well, and then when she's like, care to comment? And he's like, well, I think, women's bodies, like they're their own bodies, but men should have a say in it, essentially. I go, right. Oh God, here we go.
It's a classic.
Here we go. And she's like, yeah, but like, it's our body. So like, we should have the right to do. And you're like, oh God.
It's like, I mean, he's classic bearing the lead. And again, it's just, she knows it. She's smart, and she was going, hey,
and
we should probably talk about this.
And he continued to bury the lead because he was kind of like, listen, he's like, do you think that it's going to be a problem? And he just won't outright say to her, I disagree with what you're saying, so that she then knows.
It might be the thing.
So he won't outright say it, and he's just kind of like, do you think it'll be a problem? He's just asking her a bunch of questions. And then he's like, yeah, for me, it's going to depend on the candidate. And then she's like, okay, now I know what's going down. But what she does is she's like, okay, well, any other topics that we should bring up? He's like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
So we're left with them where it's like Virginia knows.
She knows what's up.
Now how Devin feels. And by the way, I don't doubt that she's had this feeling the whole time, because he's not being open about stuff and he's presenting exactly what she kind of was like, what he thinks she wants, but you can read it all over his face how he feels. And then in this conversation, he's not outright saying to her like, yes, I agree with you, or I disagree with you. But obviously if he agreed with her, he'd say, I 100% agree with you. So we know where he stands. So I feel like Virginia's going to pull out.
It's a ticking time bomb for sure.
I think Virginia's going to pull out.
Yeah, Virginia's been trying really hard.
Yeah.
And she goes, maybe this is just what it's like.
No.
And
I think
no
Virginia's going to
chemistry.
pull out, but I don't think Devin would pull out.
No,
I
not
think
at all.
Devin's the type of guy who's like, I'm going to keep it all buried deep. And the second we get married, I'm going to be like, no, this is how we vote. And I've got a problem with this, and and like it all comes out.
I think he's just like, this girl's out of my league, and I'm trying to keep her around.
And I'm going to do everything I can.
That's what I think it is.
Yep. Okay. Lastly, let's discuss briefly Daniel and Taylor. These two, well, we were left off on episode 6.
Seemingly a massive deal.
You and I, by the way, were like
convinced.
No, we were like, they're not. I was like, they're not going to Honduras.
It was smart that they cut them out of the preview. So
it
that
was
we
smart.
knew
I was like, they're not going to Honduras. Like, I was convinced of this.
I was convinced. I'm like, that's not something you get wrong. It didn't feel like something you get wrong. That like, oh, this guy followed me and I see his face and now he's here. Like, that still to this day is just mind-boggling to me. That just she got the phone. Basically
when Daniel and Taylor sit down, she's like, I have an app that shows who has followed and unfollowed me, and I'm gonna pull this up and look to see if you've done that. And he's like, okay. So the producer gives the phone, she's scrolling, and she's like, now I feel silly because it's taking her so long to scroll through. Now the question is, did she fully scroll and get confirmation that he had it? Or did she just say, you know what? Never mind.
I think, I mean, she would have figured, I mean, it was massive for her. I think she spent the time and I think she did it.
It looked like she gave up after a while of scrolling and gave it back to the producer.
What's another option is, he changed his, but I guess they had their phones this whole time when they come back. So yeah, she would have looked him up and
he could have, I don't think he would have like changed his name and his
handle
photo.
all that, so maybe it was just a guy who looked similar and she thought maybe it was.
We'll never really know, I guess, suppose, unless they talk about it, at the reunion or something.
And really, that was the last blip.
That was the last
blip. Which is
blip.
crazy.
Because not only that, after she's scrolling and then she's just like, now I feel silly, she basically like comes and says, hey, and we thought for sure he did it because the way he handled it was so like, oh, he's lying, he's guilty. And I guess maybe, who knows, maybe again, he changed something or she didn't follow through. Anything's possible. But the way that he handled it was textbook beautiful to me. Yeah. He literally was so understanding about
whatever you need, I totally understand.
And he's like, don't apologize. Like, if I was in your situation, I'd feel the exact same way. And he's like, I'd love to go to Honduras with you, but if you're not comfortable, I'd love to go home together and we can work this out. 100%. And I was like, wow, this man. And then through Honduras, there were numerous moments that I noted. At one point, she was talking about like putting all her makeup on. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm learning so much watching you put all your makeup on. And like, I'm hearing all these new Taylor Swift songs. And I'm like, compare this to so many of the men on this show that we've seen who criticize makeup. Daniel's like, I'm learning so much watching you do your makeup. And like loving on Taylor Swift like she loves on Taylor Swift. I'm like, this man is going to go out and be a true Swiftie versus Dave, who we find out has One Direction shirts in his closet. And the only reason that Dave has One Direction shirts in his closet is because he can use them at the bars because he knows that if he wears a One Direction shirt, a woman will walk up to me like, I'm like, oh my God, you love Harry Styles too?
Exactly.
No, Daniel is a true, like it's true.
And Daniel went on the run of a lifetime. I mean, it was really from that moment on, it was just like, their connection, him pulling her out of the doubt of the, because Honduras was, she was struggling. Yeah. Honduras was her kind of just being like, I'm sorry, I'm just, working through it. And he's like, whatever you need, I love you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. They get home and it just keeps going. Even higher.
It gets even higher. And you see it start in Honduras where she's like, I can be a big spiraler. Yeah. And he's like calms her spiraling mind.
He's in it with her.
And I have to say, as someone who's a spiraler, you're a calmer. And it is.
Sometimes. What do you mean? Sometimes I am. Sometimes I struggle. You know what I mean? We have I have my bad days.
We're all human, but in general, I'm a spiraler and you're like a sedative to me. And it's so nice then when you find a partner who it's like, you're not going to criticize the person's spiral. Right. You're there to like hear it and like process it with them. And I feel like he is that with her, where it's like she's smart and in her intelligence, she might be spiraling, but he's there to kind of be like, hey, I'm here for you regardless. I'm in here for the long haul. And safe space. And also what she says is she's like, he speaks more nicely to me than anyone ever has. Yes. And I'm like, that is what we're looking for, everyone. We're looking for a partner who you're like, no one's ever spoken that kindly to me. Not no one's ever made me feel more insecure. Think about all these other people where it's like, you make me question things, you make me feel insecure, you make me like all these things. You want someone who has never been kinder to you.
And it was interesting because then you meet his parents and you're like, oh, there's where he gets it. Because mom and dad are so calm, so calm and cool, collected, so supportive, also maybe billionaires. Their house was sick. They looked so like just kind of clean cut and perked. His dad looked like the CEO of $1 billion company. His mom was giving
wealthy,
like, you know,
President's wife.
reads foreign novels, French novels underneath her garden. Like it was all very cool, calm, collected, in control.
And then I loved how his mom was like, I love the concept because like your sister was born blind.
Exactly.
So I love the idea of it. And I love this for my son because he has a hard time opening up. And I wanted to see that for my son as well.
It was very beautiful, very connective. It was calmed me. You know what I mean?
It calmed me too. By the way, his sister's guide dog, I believe his sister's guide dog's name, if I caught it right in the caption, was Christopher Robin. Obsessed.
Oh my gosh.
Christopher Robin for a dog. Yes.
Incredible.
Yes. His family was amazing.
Amazing. And then when the two families met, then it was even more amazing.
The most warm, kind energy. And then we find out from Taylor that she's like, my parents met at 15 and 16 or 14 and 15. So they're like, we don't get this at all, right? They've known each other for forever, which I get. You're like, if you've been, you know, junior high sweethearts, essentially, like you're like, how did you guys just meet? So then when we meet her family, you know, dad's down because they're talking to where dad's like, you know, he's going through cancer. He wants to see his daughter happy. Exactly. But mom ain't playing around. Mom is tough.
Mom looked at him and goes, yeah, you don't have to worry about him. You have to worry about me.
Yeah.
Like,
mom has a tough energy and mom has a grumpy energy. Let's be real.
But he won him over.
Well, and mom wasn't letting up either.
No.
But then when, she's saying stuff where she's like, you know, I feel left out of this process. Like, this is crazy to me.
Which is understandable.
I feel left out.
If Ember did this, I definitely would like not just, I'll be honest with you. If Ember did this whole process, I wouldn't just be like, sounds great. I would in my heart have to kind of work through it before I met the person because I'd be like, I'm scared. I don't know this person.
Yeah.
I'm protective. So I always sympathize when someone's like on edge.
Yeah. But I'm like, but you got to show up and support your kid.
It's what you
be
do
honest
in
with
the
your
actual
kid,
moment.
But you got to show up. You got to be honest with your kid, have the tough convos, but like in front of their new partner, like you got to support your kid, you know, whatever. But when Daniel's family comes to meet them, I mean, his parents were like a salve. Literally, mom was being so intense and was kind of like, we don't, just so you all know, we don't do divorce in this family. He needs to know that he needs to be your everything, which is crazy, by the way. I'm like, to say that you need to be your everything is like, that's wild.
How you get divorced.
But then the way that Daniel's parents handled it, his dad's crying and they're like, listen, we know that this process is crazy, but at the end of the day, like we love our son, we want him to be happy. And now what we need to do is just like uplift them. And we're so proud of him. And your daughter seems amazing. And now it's our time to just like come up and support them. And I'm like, where are these parents? I want them.
Amazing.
You know, and even mom still, Taylor's mom was still throwing shit at the end where she was like, this is going to be tough because we have two strong families and we're both going to want them for holidays. I'm like, yikes. And if I was Daniel's parents, I'd be like feathers ruffled. Like, I don't want to have to deal with this. But if
I was Taylor, I'd be like, I'm going to their house. They say that house is sick.
But it just was like, it was just such a good energy to, like you said, to the point at the very end where they had warmed up to him so much that then he sat and asked permission, you know, if he could marry their daughter, and they like warmly gave it to him. He made them both cry. He was crying and he was just like so very humble in being willing to be put in a situation where like, you know, mom's kind of bulldozing and is not making you feel warm and cozy. But he was like, I can't imagine how you all feel. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it was, they were awesome.
And every moment with them together, they just seem so comfortable with each other and so peaceful. Like it just reeks of peace.
Yeah.
And if Daniel does anything to end up being a bad guy, I'm going to lose my shit.
I mean,
because at this
fooled
point,
us bad.
I'm just like, you would have fooled me bad. Because at this point, I'm like, Daniel just seems like a good guy.
Completely agree.
And I'll be devastated if I find out otherwise.
Completely agree.
he's really the only one that I'm like
This
fully
shoo-in.
sold
Yeah,
out
I completely
on at
agree.
this point. Joey, I'm starting to get a little more like, okay, maybe Joey.
Maybe we were wrong.
Maybe we were wrong. But I'm still have a little bit of a question mark.
Yeah.
But Daniel, I'm like, yes, okay, we're
And I
good.
think Dave's such a nice guy.
Dave seems like a good guy.
I
Ben,
don't see any red
yeah,
flags.
we're good. Everything's good.
Yo.
But anywho, family, woof.
Feast.
I'm very excited to watch the episode
The final
where
episodes, yeah.
the final episodes, but also the next episode where they meet everybody in
this
person.
Is good. This is
where
what
we
need.
see a tease of Molly talking with Dave, where Madison shows back up. Oh, I want.
Oh, I'm excited
of
to
it.
see Madison
Me
again.
too.
Yes.
Me too. I'm very, very much looking forward to this. And so, like I told you all, family, we don't have an episode next week. So no episode
But
next
we'll
week.
wrap it up the week after.
Tune in, and we're going to then go through the rest of the episodes in our episode, not next week, but the following week.
Yes.
See who gets married, see this reunion, see what goes down, and we'll see if our predictions that everyone sucks, maybe minus male-wise, maybe minus Daniel, are correct.
Right. we
shall
love you
see.
guys.
All right, we love you
Have
all.
a great weekend.
We'll
Have a
see
great
you
week.
in 2 weeks.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.